Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I'm here to talk about the month of August. So as I go day by day, I am looking at where all the planets are, and especially relative to the moon. The moon is the planet that moves the fastest. So as it moves through the different signs and relative to where it is from all the other planets, it really can give us a sense of what's going on in the world and how it's affecting all of us as a collective. So first, right now, I'm going to start out with August 1st through the 7th, and I will give you a day-by-day dissertation of what everything means globally for everyone out there in the world. Now, I am in Central Time in the United States, so I'm basing most of this on Central Daylight Time right now. So you might want to consider, if you're in another place in the world, this change may happen hours later or hours earlier. But for the most part, I'm going to be able to depict what is going on daily. Now, before I kick in here and get going, I want to remind everyone that my galactic planner is out. And the galactic planner is when it takes your chart and it's much more specific and personal to you. So the galactic planner, you're going to want to sign up for, and the first month is free if you sign up now. So go to galacticplanner.com so that you can get the daily aspects to your personal chart, and you'll know when to make your moves and when to pull back, when it's time to do anything, travel, write contracts, look at houses. This is what it's for. So now what I'm doing here is I am looking at the general planets of where they're going in the heavens. So this does make a difference globally on how we are feeling as a mass consciousness. So I'm going to continue here, but one more thing I want to mention: sign up for my free newsletter where you can get all of my predictions delivered to your email address every week. And don't forget to look at my Patreon page while you're at my website, galacticcenter.org. One last thing, if you want to study with me, the university's starting this month. So get going, look at all the opportunities I have going. So let's continue. Let me tell you what we have in store day by day for August. So I am looking at August 1st, and we have the moon in Gemini, and it is in the nakshatra called Ardra. Now, Gemini is all about communications and talking. People are going to be really serious about getting their message across to one another with the moon in Gemini. And Ardra is a very interesting nakshatra. It's actually the storm god that rules it. Ardra is ruled by Rudra, and Ardra symbol is a teardrop. So there are some serious things that come to the forefront into our minds when the moon, every time the moon does go through this nakshatra. But looking at where the moon is, I'm noticing that Mars and Jupiter and Uranus sit in the 12th house from the moon. So there is a lot of things going on behind the scenes. That's what the 12th house is. And with Mars being there, it isn't pretty. There is a lot of talk and secrets and things that are going on globally around the world. And personally for you, be aware that even in your workplace, you may have people that are talking behind your back. This is particularly what I see when Mars is in the 12th house from the moon. So Venus and Mercury are quite nice in the 3rd house from the moon. And this is a good day for creative ventures, for creating, and particularly writing. So writing, if you feel the urge to write, even emails, you're more expressive and you're able to deliver your message more expressively, more clearly, and it's a great time, even for, and there's not much time for this, even for traveling. So this is very, there's a window that I'm going to cut you off here about the travels, because Mercury is going to go retrograde this month, but be aware that this day is fine. But still, that 12th house energy, things are building. Let me just say, I see a lot of things that are about to take place this month. I'll fill you in as I go. Let's go to August 2nd. August 2nd, the moon is still in Gemini all the way almost to the end of the day. It's going to shift into Cancer by the evening. But all throughout the day, it's still going to be in Gemini, and it's going to be in one of my favorite nakshatras, Purnavasu, which is the nakshatra that means a return of the light. And what it means is people may come back, they spring back from things, and it's a good one to follow after Ardra, because Ardra deals with the storms and tears, and this one deals with the sunny day that comes after the hardcore days of being in difficult times and tearful. And Venus, I notice, is in an exact square to Uranus. So Venus does deal with creativity, and it can mean that you can have some creative breakthroughs during this time. It's a great day for being creative. And also, I must say, with Venus square Uranus, be aware that relationships might have difficulty, but remember, you can work on them and make them better today. So don't be obstinate or don't be stubborn in your opinions, mainly because another thing that's going on is that Venus is in Leo and Uranus is in Taurus. These are fixed signs, so be aware that you've got to be a little bit more flexible. But the moon being in Purnavasu makes it a pleasant and much more light day than the day before. So now I'm looking at August 3rd, and Mars is in some interesting positions here. It is right there at the degree mark of the fixed star Aldebaran, which is the eye of the bull. And this can also mean that there can be violence, there can be problems with war, because actually Mars is opposing the fixed star Antares. Aldebaran and Antares are exactly opposed to each other from 1516 Taurus to Scorpio, and Mars is 15 degrees Taurus. So it's going to be there for the next 2 to 3 days. And Antares is the star of war that sits at 1516 degrees of Scorpio. So Mars is a violent planet. So be ready. Things are really going to start heating up today. I know it is, because we have some degree markings that I have been noting for a long time. They happen this month. I'll give you the days that Jupiter and Mars get close to 23 degrees of Taurus. This is the marker that we're looking at. We're not there yet, but I want you to start to prepare. All right, so looking at this, the moon today, August 3rd, is in Cancer, and it is aligning with the sun. So we have a Baslamic moon, which means it is behind the sun, and it's the day before the new moon. And when the moon is waning like this, and it's really called the dark moon. It is the dark moon, so the moon is dark. It is in Cancer, which is powerful, but when you have this dark, dark moon before the new moon, it's a time to be more introspective. Pull back. It is not the day to start new things. Never on the day, the moon, before the new moon, because it's the ending of a cycle, of the entire cycle of the moon, when it finally comes back together with the sun, because the next day we'll have the new moon. And then we have the moon that starts to wax. The waxing moon is where the moon is growing brighter. every day it gets brighter till it reaches the point of the full moon. But the waxing moon is the time that you move forward in ventures, not the waning moon, especially the day right before the new moon. So, but it is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about protection. And with all these threats and fears around war and attacks, yes, I think we need to be more protective of our countries, ourselves, and things are starting to really look dangerous in the world. I mean, they have for a long time, but I think now is the time that we really need to start looking at how can we protect ourselves. And the moon is in the nakshatra called Pusha. And Pusha is the nourisher. It is the symbol for it is a cow's udder. So it's about nourishing, giving nourishment and food, feeding our souls, feeding ourselves. So it is a wonderful, wonderful time for meditation and introspection. And pay attention to your dreams, because this is important. Now, the Jupiter, Mars, and Uranus are in the 11th house. You might find that there's some critical meetings where people may not be so much in agreement, but still a lot of meanings are coming together, and maybe that's even countries, I might add, for making some strategic plans for the future. Now, Venus and Mercury are in the second house from from the sun and the moon. So it is a good day to make purchases, but just be aware it's not the time to begin new ventures. So now I'm looking at August 4th, and the moon is still in Cancer, but now it's moved into the nakshatra called Aslesha. And we do have the new moon today. August 4th is the new moon. And let me just say that this is the time that you can start thinking about making new projects. But I have another fair warning. Tomorrow, Mercury moves retrograde on the August 5th. So the day before retrograde, Mercury is actually standing still. We call it a station before it changes from direct to backwards. And in this change of motion, people change their minds. So it's not a good time, actually, even though it is the new moon, to make major decisions. Wait till Mercury starts to move backwards and going in a backwards motion. Then it's time to pull back and review and reassess things. But right now, it's a time for grounding and getting serious about where you are and what you're doing. It's still about making plans, not moving forward. Because Mercury retrograde, it changes directions and everyone changes their mind. Anything that you do is fruitless because everyone's going to want to change to doing something else. So the moon being in the nakshatra called Aslesha, Aslesha symbol is a snake. So be aware of people that might be trying to convince you to think a certain way, a different way than what you had planned. And be firm, be steady in your judgments, and do not be swayed by suspicious and sneaky people that want to change your mind in a way that deep down in your gut you know is not right. So let us move to August 5th. And August 5th, yes, Mercury turns retrograde. What happens when Mercury turns retrograde? Well, on the days that it switches and changes from direct to retrograde, you better believe there's confusion. And yes, travel plans may go haywire during this day of August 5th. It is the day that the moon is after the new moon, so the moon is increasing in light, but it's still a very dark moon. They say not to make plans when the moon is right after the new moon. It's too new. It's like a seed's been planted and it's not ready to really come out and do what it needs to do. So things aren't moving forward yet. Things are still in a standstill. And I want to say with Mercury retrograde in Leo, remember this. What is Leo all about? Now the moon is in Leo. Venus is in Leo, Mercury's in Leo, and Mercury's retrograde. Leo is about kings and leaders. So there's a major reversal about kings and leaders and things going on politically. You'll see a big change taking place today. And things are critical. Things are changing, and I wouldn't suggest for any political leaders to have meetings or conventions or things during the time that Mercury is retrograde, because everything changes when it goes direct. And what do I say about Mercury retrograde? Everything is RE, so it's time to review, to reflect, to reassess, to reanalyze, to relax. Go within. It's time to just take it easy and not try to push forward. So in the process of reviewing everything, you will make much more progress for when Mercury goes direct, because you took the time to reassess things, and that will fix a lot of mistakes that you would have made if you're trying to force forward and make things happen during the time that Mercury is retrograde. So another thing during this time, the Jupiter, Mars, and Uranus are in the 10th house from the moon. So there are a lot of changes, I must say, with political leaders and groups, and things are shifting. And I noticed that Mars is at 16 degrees. So really for the last 3 days, Mars has been conjunct Aldebaran. And this is a powerful star, the red eye of the bull. And of course, like you always hear, these placements are in the Pleiades. This is a very densely populated portion of the zodiac with heavy stars. So things are going to start blowing up and happening at this time. Watch what I say. Let's move on to August 6th. Now, August 6th is where the moon is still in Leo, and it's in another one of my favorite nakshatras, Purva Falguni. Purva Falguni is the nakshatra that you need to express yourself. You feel very creative and you feel the need to create and express. It's great for writing. It's great for any creative work, acting, all of these things where you express. But let me tell you something about this moon today. Now, yesterday on the 5th and today on the 6th, we have the moon with Mercury, and Mercury's just turned retrograde. These 2 days are crazy. Why? Because people are overthinking everything. Their mind is not at rest. When you put Mercury, the planet about thinking process, with the moon that rules the mind, people can't stop over processing things. And chances are when we overthink anything, we don't get it right. We have to go with that first gut impulse, right? No, people are going to be thinking, and processing. And things are kind of a mess right now with this going on. Moon and Mercury in Leo. And remember, Leo is about leadership. So things are crazy in the political world, I will say, with Mercury moon in Leo, ruling rulers, leaders, and confusion. So I'm going to say August 5th and 6th are critical in terms of confusion with decisions being made in the political world with leaders, and no one knows what to do. Also today, while the moon is in Purva Falguni, it is opposed by Saturn, so there's some seriousness. People are more serious about things today. Mars is getting closer to Jupiter, and this means major things are about to erupt. So this moon in Leo, watch what's going on. Mercury retrograde. It is so crazy right now. We can't make sense about what's really happening because no one knows what to do. It's pretty confusing. So now let me look at August 7th. The moon will drop into Virgo during this day. Later in the day, though, I must say, after around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But the moon starts to approach Ketu. And when the moon comes together with Ketu, this is a time of deep introspection and sometimes a sense around loss. Yes, losses. I've seen this. And usually when the moon comes together with Ketu, the stock market goes down. So watch and see during the cycle of August 7th and 8th if that's not what can be happening. The economy is starting to make a big shift. And let's see, Mercury and Venus are in the 12th house from the moon. Mercury and Venus, by the way, will be exactly conjunct, both 9 degrees of Leo. And as Mercury and Venus conjoin together, they're in a planetary war. So this is a very hectic day. Planetary war, they're in the 12th house from the moon. Things are not as they appear. Things are very incensed and crazy. And here's another thing on the 7th. We have Mercury exactly conjunct Venus. So there is a struggle between the process of thinking what we need to do, and with them being in the 12th house, no one can make up their mind what to do. It's so confusing. People are confused. People are messed up. And the moon being in Virgo, it's like that's a very mental moon. So people are aside with themselves. I just see people scurrying and running all over the place and not having a plan. That's what I see. That is what I see. So let's move on. Well, I'm not going to move on to the 8th because this covers the first week of August, which seems so unnerving with Mercury retrograde and we have a planetary war. The moon is with Mercury when it turns retrograde. Talk about a lot of uneasiness in the world and a lot of confusion. Things are not as they appear right now. So get ready. The next week in August is the one that I think I have a lot more detail to make sense with so that you'll know where this is all headed. So bear with me and follow me up in the next week. I'm going to give you further details of what's happening in the world. And before I go, I want to remind everyone, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. Check out my Patreon page, become a part of a spiritual community, as well as my Galactic Planner. My Galactic Planner, you are going to be able to look at your own life individually as the planets transit through your chart. This is going to be very exciting. And so go to galacticplanner.com. And don't forget, if you want to become my student, learn Vedic Astrology, go to universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.